ever think there might be another way to just feel better about today? Oh no, if you never want to have to turn and go away, you might feel better if you stay. Yeah, I bet you haven't heard a word I've said. Yeah, you've had enough of all your trying. Just give up the state of mind you're in. If you wanna be somebody else, if you're tired of fighting battles with yourself, if you wanna be somebody else, change your mind. Change your mind. Hey, have you ever danced in the rain? Oh, thank you, sun, just for shining o'er the sea. Oh no, take it all in the world to show. And yeah, you look much better when you glow. Yeah, I hope you've heard every word I've said. Yeah, you've had enough of all your trying. Just give up the state of mind you're in. If you wanna be somebody else, if you're tired of fighting battles with yourself, if you wanna be somebody else, change your mind. Change your Hey, what you say? We both go and seize the day. 'Cause what you hurry anyway. Yeah, I hope you heard every word I've said. Yeah, had enough of all your trying. Just give up the state of mind you're in. If you wanna be somebody else, if you're tired of losing battles with yourself, if you wanna be somebody else, change your mind. Change your mind. Change your mind. Change your
Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be the on screen facilitator for this weekly setup. This is week 2 for the month of November, and I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. I am really excited to have our social on a Saturday night. I feel like Saturday night socials are a slightly different vibe. They have their own little kind of a little bit relaxed, but you guys are still the best people to kind of hang out with this. So I also want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator, Malika, who you will see in the chat. Always love working working with Malika. She's in California. We always have a great time. We spend so much time chatting just in the rehearsals as we get there. So we certainly love setting up our weeks with each and every one of you. So I would love to see in the chat, because I've already seen some of our returning socialers. Hello to all of you. Makes my heart very happy to see all of you here, especially one of those that I feel like it definitely becomes a routine. So I certainly would feel like I would miss you if you weren't here. But if you are new, or if this is your first social or your first weekly setup, or your first time even on a Saturday night, you can put in the chat. If that is you, we would love to recognize those new people. But you can participate in the chat as little or as much as you want. If you want to make sure that it is set to everyone so that you can share with the larger Sonder fam in the chat. If not, it does default to host and panelists. That comes to myself and Malika, and we are always able to help. But what I do love is seeing everyone from all over the place, all the different time zones, all the different locations. It's so much fun, and it is so amazing because you guys provide such amazing inspiration, support, and celebration. So we are so glad that you are here, and we will go ahead and set some ground rules. And that is to be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. And while Malika and I have some information, we will most likely redirect customer care inquiries to our team, hello@silkandsonder.com. And as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. And so we are glad that you've come exactly as you are. If you've had the highs and lows and everything in between of the week, we are glad that you're here. Take a deep breath. You have arrived. We are going to spend the next hour diving into the month's theme, doing a really awesome reflection on Rosebud Thorn, as well as working on those setup pages. And I am seeing some first-time folks. There is a cadence to some of these socials, and so I always encourage you to kind of give it a few tries before you kind of settle. If this is part of that self-care journey, you can focus just on your journal and sit here and work on that, or you can be in the chat, or you can kind of do a combination of both, but definitely be ready for really good inspiration, some really great ideas. If I am too much, you can mute me. If I am talking too fast, let me know in the chat because I can slow down. I just get excited. If the music is too much, you can mute that. But we want you to have the type of social that you want, what you need right now on that self-care journey. We are just excited that you're here with us. So we're continuing with this month's theme of November. And I have been kind of certainly in my head about how can I cultivate my own joy. And so I loved the idea of these two kind of quotes and concepts because I love how they can kind of build together. So Brené Brown with her joy collected over time fuels resilience. But then also the idea of knowing your own happiness. And then with the classic again, Jane Austen, know your own happiness, you want nothing but patience, or give it a more fascinating name, call it hope. So if you know what your own happiness is, you can call it hope. And that hope can kind of turn into joy, which can help with you in the resilience category. So if you know your own happiness, you can find your joy, which helps in those moments of needing hope or resilience. So I love the idea of controlling what we can control within ourselves, but how can we build up our toolkit in those moments where we kind of need that pep talk, or the only person who's going to be able to give us that pep talk is ourselves. So I have been trying to embrace that self-joy, or cultivating that own self-joy, so that when I do have those low moments, usually in the middle of the night when I can't fall asleep and I'm being haunted by the coulda, woulda, shouldas, it's finding that joy and the happiness and the hope and the resilience so that it can all come together. So that is kind of what I'm continuing to focus on when it comes to joy, is how can I find my own joy in places. So I would certainly love to see in the chat if you have thoughts on kind of the joy, or are you one of those that you kind of feed off others? Because that's what I said. There are so many ways to approach joy, but I feel like it is another one of those that we have kind of a higher expectation of kind of finding it somewhere. And that's either finding the things to support it. it's almost like a really weird treasure hunt. And I feel like joy shouldn't be that treasure hunt. It should be something that you can always kind of pull from. So those are kind of my thoughts as I roll into week 2 of this month. But we are going to work on week 2 of our Joy Mind Map. Then we're going to do that rosebud thorn reflection and then those weekly setup pages. So if you have not done a mind map yet, we use this as a way to dive a little bit deeper into each month's theme. We do call it the monthly mind map because that's a lovely alliteration, but it is something that is unique to the weekly setups. And so what's great about it is we include the previous week. So if you don't make it to a social, or if you show up a little bit late or have to leave a bit early, then you already have these here and we can include that. But that also means you don't always have to do them. These are just kind of the ways that we find as a way to build those relationships with the theme. So you're going to find that blank piece of paper in your journal if you've already set it up. And if you haven't, you're going to split it up into 4 different spaces because we have 4 different weeks that we're going to look at this. If there are more weeks in the month, don't worry, we have some bonus ideas as well. But now we're going to reflect on 4 different areas of life that we can find joy in. And I feel like this next one is such a good one. So the first week we looked at joy in relationships. Today's is nature. How does spending time in nature affect your mood and well-being? What specific natural settings or activities bring you the most joy? So as soon as this one came up, it absolutely put a smile on my face because I feel like it's one of those things that I find it quite easy to find joy in nature, even though I don't consider myself too much of a nature girly. But what I like about this is what are specific natural settings or activities that bring you the most joy. Other ways to look at this are what is your favorite place outside to be? And maybe if you're not the outdoor type, that is okay. Maybe it's more of what type of landscape paintings or photos kind of bring you joy if you're flipping through a magazine or at a museum or some sort of book. Or even just kind of reading along. What are those things that you kind of gravitate to when it comes to landscape? And then a couple of the other ideas that I thought was really interesting was in dealing with nature, is there joy in the spontaneity of being outdoors, or is there joy in the comfort of planning for it? And then also I liked the idea of, is there joy in being solo outside, or is there more joy with friends, family, pets, community, whoever you kind of enjoy the outdoors with? So those are just kind of some additional ways to explore the topic. Like I said, for me, don't consider myself a nature girly. But I did choose a field of study in the natural sciences. I am a biological oceanographer by background and profession. And so for me, this outdoor and nature drives the curiosity, the wonder, and also that kind of calming enthusiasm that I've always feel like I've needed. And I also, in some sort of form or fashion, I also treat it a little bit as like my battery charger. There are times where I can't quite I can't quite describe that I'm feeling a little unsettled, and usually it's just a little jaunt to the beach or a river or a lake, and I feel like all of a sudden it's that calming presence that I need, that reset and the refresh, because I do feel it is a little bit of a satisfying escape. So I would love to hear your thoughts on joy in nature, and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I love all of the special and unique takes about nature, the combination of those that are definitely in it, moving away from everything, being out very much there, tackling all the hills and the mountains, all of the beach and lake scenes. I loved the reminder of the magic of kind of sunsets, sunrises, but I loved our little urban nature folks as well. I feel like it's one of those that the whole idea of nature and like I said, being a natural science types, the cycles that it goes through, I feel like there's just kind of that magic and elegance of it, and so much of the kind of calm, refresh, resurgence, optimism, growing, happiness, all those things that even, poets and writers all kind of talk about nature. What I do think is then taking all of those kind of bigger, loftier ideas and then being able to bring them into something that speaks to you, and maybe how nature can help with your joy, how it is kind of finding joy there. And even then, if it's maybe not something that you consider, maybe it's something worth exploring, as kind of finding another way to add a spark. But I do feel like it's another one of those kind of very elegant connection things that finding those type of very simple things in nature that can certainly bring us joy. And so if you maybe had a little bit of a hard time kind of coming up with these ideas, don't worry, you can write it down and you have the rest of the week to kind of explore this idea. Or maybe you kind of are at that point where you want to explore some of those things, or you maybe found that spark of joy in nature, and you can start incorporating, maybe bringing some of that natural vibe into this next week, especially as we go to set it up. But I love reading all of your ideas on joy in nature. And so thank you for sharing. And so now we're going to move to the rosebud thorn exercise. What I really like about this one is you get to acknowledge the wins, which are the roses, a highlight, something that made you happy, that made you smile, something that brought you joy, a celebration, but also kind of in it as well, you can acknowledge those thorns. So that would be something that didn't go so well. Something negative, something that was a bit of a roadblock, a speed bump, or maybe something that's just taking up too much space in your mind, body, or soul. I feel like it becomes one of those, but being able to acknowledge both of those things, because those can give you either kind of some ideas that you can move forward with, either the kind of start, stop, and continue as we go to then build our weekly setup. So if you had some kind of really great roses and you want to carry that momentum into the next week, you can pull some of those ideas or kind of repeat some of those sections. And then I feel like the bud got definitely a spotlight last month with an opportunity. And so I have tried to take a little bit more care in my buds and giving them a little bit more of a platform. But for the rose for me this week, one of my friends from the main character club summer camp that I went to in August, she coincidentally was in town, and she's gonna come back on Sunday. She's doing a tour with another group, but she's been here, and it's been really lovely to have someone to hang out with. We've done some dinners, and then we also have a dinner planned with two of our other friends from that same trip. So it's fun to have, dinner plans with friends that you can just kind of sit and chat about. So it's been really great having her around. And she also brought me some amazing treats from Germany. So I have a whole bunch of German snacks that I'm working through, and that just adds to the kind of fun and excitement of it. For my bud and emerging opportunity, I'm working on an online MBA, and part of one of the courses is a professional development course. So I took an emotional intelligence assessment, and I have scheduled with my coach to kind of get the outcome of that. And I'm really curious because I took an emotional intelligence assessment back in my early 20s, associated with the previous job that I had. So now I'm curious either what kind of emotional growth have I made now in my late 30s. So I'm really excited, and I'm looking forward to kind of the outcome of that to see if I've learned anything. And then the thorn, I've just been a little frustrated with some of the clients that I work with. Been getting a lot of missed calls, a lot of missed emails. No one's really responding to me, and so I can't quite move forward with some of the things I need to do. And unfortunately, they are people that I have to get information from in order to submit things. So I've just reached a little bit of a frustration with, though, is it me? Is it the emails? Are you not getting my emails? Is it the wrong email? So it's just added a little bit of extra stress into my work life that I haven't experienced in a while. But I would love to see your rosebud thorns in the chat. I always love to celebrate those roses, get excited with you about those buds, as well as provide any extra thoughts or support around those thorns. So we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Definitely have some really amazing highs and support and roses within the group, with family, friends, but also just major accomplishments. But then seeing again on those kind of flip sides of the thorns with some of the loss and medical journeys and just kind of all the feelings that people are having. I feel like it becomes certainly a tricky time. All the emotions come out for sure as we go into the holiday season with the season change, all of those things. So definitely sending all the extra love and support for each and every one of you. We love to feel all the crunchy feelings here, feel the emotionals, let them sit before you kind of plan your action. And I feel like that's what I've certainly learned with this, is giving myself some grace in some of those kind of situations where I just need to maybe take a beat, figure it out, and then come up with a plan of action or sit with those feelings and kind of figure out what to do next, but knowing that it's going to maybe take some time and giving myself that kind of time to be in those spaces. So thank you everybody for sharing. I know it can be a little bit tough sometimes, but I do think there is something helpful about at least putting it out into the world, especially in a supportive group like this. But I always feel just, again, kind of maybe that 1% better that I'm able to write it down or put it out there, just to kind of give it a little bit more of maybe the moment it deserves, or maybe take away some of the moment that it doesn't deserve by doing that. But thank you everybody for sharing. We are now going to move into the weekly planner portion, the why you are here. And so I always frame it this way, as start with, what do you need this week? What do you need from this week? What do you need from yourself? What do you need from a routine? What do you need potentially from these kind of tools or these and those reminders? But I feel like it's another one of those that you can do it exactly as written, and you can certainly do it as a completely repurposing. That's why I always start with the reframing of, what do I need this week? Because I feel like you can get a little lost in the process, or especially maybe halfway through the week, you realize that maybe you haven't touched your journal, maybe it really isn't what you needed or what you wanted. And so being able to break away with perfection and kind of starting over with that. So this is your permission to do what you need, and sometimes that's doing everything, sometimes that's doing nothing. So no one is going to judge you. You are not getting graded on this. No one is going to come in and ask you about your progress. These are just added tools in your tool belt so that you can move forward in your self-care journey. So we're going to start with, this week I want to feel. And so I always ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? I see it as a moment of me taking control of my week, because acknowledging the rosebuds and thorns of each week is great, but also realizing that some of those things are not things that I can control. I can control what I want to feel this time next week. So I treat this again as a little bit of a manifestation. And sometimes these can be in the form of a word. Maybe you want to feel more something or less something. Maybe it's multiple words because you have different days that you need to tackle. Maybe again, it's that 1% better. Maybe it's a particular definition. Maybe it's a phrase. Maybe it is one of those things. And then I still love stickers, so maybe it's these amazing stickers. Maybe you just want to be happy. I know Halloween is over, but maybe you want to be as happy and as excited as this little ghost is, or as relaxed as the giraffe is. But I feel like this is a great kind of frame as we go through those rows and buds and thorns of each week, that you can kind of come back to your either original plan or a goal and kind of give yourself that helpful reminder. So I'm going to play just a quick little song, but I would love to see in the chat, how do you want to feel this time next week? Thank you everybody for sharing. And what I love about this can definitely be a new word. It could be something that you are intentionally trying to counteract, maybe what you were feeling last week, or maybe this is a word that you really resonated with you, and it's maybe your word of the year or a word of the month, or even the same word that you had last week, because that's kind of as we're starting to see. But I love the intentional optimism that asking yourself, what do you want to feel this time next week, can kind of help. And so now that we have of how we want to feel this time next week, we are going to add in those weekly major 3 goals, or maybe they're weekly minor 3 goals. Maybe they're just goals. Maybe they're 3 goals. For me, they tend to be intentional or emotional reminders, so that I can feel the way I want to feel this time next week. The other way to approach this is categories, I would say, are pretty popular. Maybe you have a professional goal, a mind goal, a body goal, or maybe it's a me, home, and work. Maybe it is just the top 3 things you want to do. Maybe they are those 3 reminders, to reset the house, stop scrolling, write. I like the read, 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 and the stay cool. I feel like in this, it's the read, 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 and maybe stay warm, physically warm, mentally cool, all those kind of fun nuances there. The idea of breaking it up into having an early goal, a midday goal, and an evening goal, especially if you're trying to kind of kickstart or revisit a routine. The idea of alliteration, so productive, peaceful, powerful, frog, fun, and fierce. Or again, taking that category idea and giving it a larger, kind of a broader goal, and then tying that directly into your to-do list with kind of just the way you separate out the page. Or maybe these are kind of goals that you want to stop doing. Stop the mindless scrolling, stop eating out, stop the mindless spending. Or maybe it's a completely repurpose where your goals are in one space, but the weekly to-dos are in another. Like the one at the top right, their goals are on the other side because there is no graph paper there, and the weekly to-dos look a little bit better on the graph paper. Or again, you completely repurpose this with maybe weekly affirmations or a bingo board, all of those things. So after that, I'm also going to tie in the weekly to-dos, because I feel like, again, these kind of go a little bit hand in hand. My weekly goals don't change too much, but my weekly to-dos change quite frequently. And that is because I am a big to-do person. I love the art of celebrating what I have accomplished, because that is the type of things that my type A personality needs. But then there are other times that I need to incorporate other tools to kind of help. And that usually deals with the prioritization or categorizing. So the Eisenhower matrix with the do, decide, delegate, or delete. But you can obviously change a lot of those words. Like I said, I live alone, so delegation becomes a little bit tricky, but I do find ways to delegate, and that's everything from I am just not in the mood to cook or clean, so I will absolutely delegate that to the closest restaurant. I've had to delegate maintenance a little bit more, and at the same time, I never delete anything from my to-do list. I usually will just delay it. So being able to kind of add that combination there, it certainly helps when I just am in a little bit of a brain fog and I can't quite see through my to-do list. So being able to approach it from a different prioritization, I think, is great. The idea of a to-do bingo board, we think, is there. Same thing with the Pomodoro technique. Maybe you have a larger goal that has a bunch of little pieces on that to-do list, so you can set aside that. And then sometimes it's also recreating, again, that prioritization list. Maybe it's categorizing them under a call, an errands, a follow-up, and a schedule to help with that to-do list. I do always like the idea of a needs and a want list. Maybe it's reframing it as to do these things, but don't do these, do these things instead of the don't do. Maybe it's a to-be list. Maybe it's those happy thoughts or those glimmers, as Nathania pointed out. Maybe you have it broken down into the work to-dos and the personal to-dos, because I know some people will kind of use this for a lot of different chapters of their life. Or maybe it's a not to-do list, or those weekly wins, or the weekly ahas. So there's a couple different ways you can approach this. I would love to see in the chat, do you connect these two sections, the major goals and the to-dos, or do you keep them separate? I always feel like I go back and forth between the two, but I'm always looking for any helpful recommendations to tackle the to-do list and not procrastinate and carry over the to-dos from week to week to week. There's usually like one or two that starts to like find a permanent place on the to-do list, and so I got to figure out a way to remove them. But I would love to see that in the chat, and we will see you soon. Thank you everybody for sharing. I loved seeing the connection that a lot of you have, that those weekly to-dos help support those goals, and all the different kind of ways you're approaching this. And so now we're going to move into the next section, which is the habit and activity tracker. So I feel like this is a good kind of distinction that we make between the monthly habit and activity tracker and the weekly habit and activity tracker. Monthly tend to be the things that you want to do every single day. The weeklies, I think, as Sarah Kay just pointed out, she doesn't like to walk outside if it's raining. I don't either. But I do take those into account for my habit and activity tracker on a weekly basis, kind of add that realistic lens where it's like I want to move every day, but if it's outside, I melt like the Wicked Witch of the West. So I do not want to be outside in the rain. So I then kind of plan around what sort of workout or movement can I do within those kind of confines. So again, maybe these are habits and activities that you want to stop doing. I liked the idea that someone was really going to lean into the no November. So being that able to do that, I think is great. You can also maybe set some of these goals with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or maybe you don't set any goals. Christy, you took the words right out of my mouth. Maybe this is just not what you want to do this week for this particular section because it's conflicting with other trackers, or you're on vacation, or you want to be more present, or you just can't. It's not going to bring that kind of helpful element for your goals and how you want to feel this time next week. So you can absolutely cover it with stickers. Stickers are there to be used. They want to be used. They look great on the paper. And I feel like, again, it's that little helpful reminder of where you're putting your time and energy and effort into other places. That is what you need that week. It can also be a place to maybe be some of those friendly reminders. So maybe instead of the in emotional or internal kind of goals, maybe this is where those kind of live, and so they're less of things and more of just ideas. I liked the idea of being able, again, maybe your weekdays look different than your weekends, and just because there are 5 lines there does not mean you need to use all 5. Maybe it's 3 things, maybe it's 2 things, maybe you are coming off of just not feeling yourself, and so the first one is just to feel better or be better or just get up. I love the idea of being able to kind of tailor it to each of those. Someone else said that they use the weekly spread for the habits and activities to try out new habits and activities before they get graduated to the monthly tracker, which I think is a really great way to kind of look at those things kind of hand in hand. Plus, this is also a great place to put some of those reminders for how you use your journal in general. So maybe if you have a little bit of a tougher time kind of tracking all the trackers, maybe you can put a little bit of a reminder here to check in with your intentions, or even work on the coloring page, or work on one of the prompts, review one of the socials, or even just attend a social. That's a great way to kind of use this space as a way to help you when it comes to kind of progressing in the journal. And then if you haven't been to one of my sessions before, I love iconography. I love the visual element of all of these. So I thought these were really great reminders, quick ways to be kind to yourself. And it even gives you a time limit for those. So if you need something that's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, you can throw those here. I also like the idea of within November, here are some fun little reminders. Spoiler alert, they have a little bit of a Disney spin. I took that out of the Bailey playbook. And then I like the idea of an adventure list. So maybe this is something that you can add, especially around getting out and about in nature a little bit more. And I am a big fan of sustainable produce. So these are the November produce options that are there. So you will certainly be able to find them, maybe a little bit easier, especially if one of those, like to do the markets or those things. But I always like to see, is it going to be a vegetable heavy month or a fruit heavy month? But I feel like that's another fun way to incorporate how can we try out some of these new habits and activities. So I would love to see what type of habits and activities you are working on, and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I loved seeing all the different habits and activities that you guys are working on. I am certainly a creature of habit, so this is, again, another one of those sections that doesn't change too much, but I do try to manage my expectations from week to week because I have found that that helps me feel the way I want to feel this time next week. And so that's where I overlay those kind of reality lenses there because I found I was beating myself up a little bit unnecessarily when it came to maybe not showing as much progress in these sections. And it was more of I just realized I was trying to pull too much time and energy away in order to accomplish these things when I should have been finding a little bit more of a happy medium. So I always feel like that can be a good reminder. So thank you, everybody, for sharing. We are now going to flip over to the next page. And this is a page that I lovingly refer to as the B-side. I am a music fan, so I feel like, again, gonna sound like a broken record because this is another record metaphor, I guess. The B-side, I do not always use this page. The page we just completed is the one that I do diligently every single time. This next page, I found out that I just wasn't getting as much out of it, but there are some amazing gems. So there are amazing songs when I need it, and they're there. But I've just found that I am a little bit happier with my progress when I'm not adding kind of that added layer of stress. But just because that is my approach does not mean it is the only approach. So here are some other ideas with those meal plans. You can absolutely use it exactly as a meal plan. And you can certainly do those, one of the things where you actually plan it, or you can use a real-time meal tracker. I know one of our other facilitators uses it to track leftovers. And so it's a way to kind of incorporate that, especially if that is the type of journey that you're on. If you had a harder time finding some of those roses or trying to focus a little bit more on things that bring joy in your life, maybe it's one joyful thing or one good thing. Maybe this is where your to-dos live. You can also use this as a little bit more of a meal plan for the soul, or really diving into this month's theme and kind of asking yourself some more of those questions in order to do that. Maybe these are your top priorities. This is a great place to put those affirmations, Bible verses, any other kind of studying thing you're working on, another healthcare tracker. Maybe this is where you do a clothing planner if you're headed on vacation, or maybe you work from home, or even including words of the day, some sort of other creative outlet with a haiku of the day, or just kind of how did you find your joy, or how did you find your happy, or how did you fill your cup today? Love it, Christy, love it. I think, yeah, I'm so impressed with the fact that you do a different one every day. I just don't think I have the brain capacity to do that every single day. But your mind, body, and health plan can also tie into those with the repurposing. Nathania, again, I give a shout out. She's here today. I love the I feel and I need. That is just an elegantly simple reflection, but can be so powerful and so effective with you. I am feeling this, therefore I need this. And you can do it kind of at any time of the day. I feel like, again, it's another one of those things. How can we find our own joy? How can we build our own happiness? And I think sometimes it can start with just asking yourself, what do you need? Or how are you feeling? And what we can do about that. Maybe it's a highlight of the day. Maybe these are the unplug reminders. Maybe it's the things you want to look forward to this month. Or again, maybe this is where some of those journal prompts lived. Maybe you need to focus on those 7 types of rest. 7 types of rest are social, spiritual, mental, creative, emotional, sensory, physical, because sometimes we are tired, and it's not just because we are physically tired. So being able to tap into some of these other ideas are really great. Maybe it's a reading log, especially if you have particular reading goals. We're coming up on the end of the year for those reading goals. So maybe give you a little bit last minute motivation. And again, some more of those, like I said, really elegant iconography that I do love. And those are, here's a checklist for your mind, your body, and your soul. More things to look forward in November, some small self-care habits. And again, just the nature version reminder of 8 signs that you are human, because I feel like sometimes we are overly harsh with ourselves. And I feel like that ties into kind of the mind, body, health plan coming off of the habits and activities. And then rounding out that kind of particular grouping with the shopping list. So maybe this is where the daily rituals are. Maybe this is that shopping list that helps support the meal plan. Here are some of those self-care reminders. As we said, the bingo boards are very popular. So, pick your theme. Celebrate the wins. Maybe it's your joy bingo. Maybe it's just the boring stuff bingo. Maybe it's those social check-ins, which we know can be very, very important, especially as the seasons change. Maybe these are mini breaks for work or just mini breaks in general. Maybe if you realize that you've maybe lost a little bit of your connection and joy from nature, maybe you can bring in some of those kind of nature breaks. Maybe especially as we head into the holiday season, maybe this is where we start with the buy and don't buy, as we start to kind of all those activities. So starting to plan there. Or maybe you just need some weekend habits for when you need to rest, so things to incorporate there. Maybe it's some stickers, maybe it's just a lovely letter to yourself to get you through the week. But I would love to see how you work on this second page. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give you some music to listen to, and we will see you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Loved seeing all of the different ways that you utilize this page, but I also just love the really unique approaches that you have in addition to just kind of outside of the journal with those self-care things, learning about the prayer breath and all those type of things. I feel like I learn something new every single time I do a social. So I would love to continue the conversation in the app. So we love seeing all of your amazing examples. So if you would like to share your pages, we'd love to see them there. You guys provide such amazing examples and such great inspiration. That is kind of how we obviously put together some of these things. So thank you. And that does bring us to the end. Hopefully you were doing some chair dancing before you leave. But as always, here are those QR codes. Malik is going to put some of those links in the chat, but definitely want to highlight the refer a friend, tell us what you think when it comes to those surveys. And then if you have to leave early or if you show up late, or if there isn't a social schedule that you can attend, the YouTube video has all of those. We have over 100 videos there. So not only is it all the socials that we do, but all of the different facilitators and their different perspectives, which I think is really magical. This is a copy of my playlist. I feel like the lighthouse was certainly the theme, and I definitely want to go watch Pete's Dragon now. But thank you everybody for joining. I will provide that link in the chat, but I hope each and every one of you have an rest of your weekend. You guys are going to have an amazing second week of November. I hope to see you at a future social, especially as we do the tackle the week 3 of November. But thank you again for attending. Thank you for sharing. I hope you have an amazing rest of your weekend, and we will see you soon. Bye.
I'm dreaming wide awake. This is the life I make. I don't need a holiday to make me feel this way. Listen up, take a chance, you can sing, you can dance, you can live like there's no tomorrow. Give it time and you'll find there's a groove, there's a rhyme, move along and the rest will follow. I want you to know, oh yeah, we shine like stars. Oh yeah, we shine like stars, like stars.